Hey y'all, thanks for stopping by. So the Twitter files have been in the news for practically the month of December. The first one of I think it's seven that have been released now, came out on December 2nd. And if you aren't that familiar with what exactly it is, Elon Musk is releasing internal files from Twitter to several journalists, Matt Taibbi, Barry Weiss, two others that are involved who are disseminating the information into Twitter threads. Um, like I said, I think seven have come out now, different threads, and I'll put links in the description so you can find them easier. But like the first one was about Hunter Biden's laptop story, and according to that thread, they said that the government gave them warnings about hacks and leaks that were coming out, but that there was no government involvement in the actual story itself, which contradicted itself on the seventh files, where it said that the intelligence community was in contact with Twitter employees about the laptop story. Something about stolen information laws and how, like, regarding it being published on platforms. There was a big stink about, I think it was the New York Post, who was putting articles out about it, and it was like stolen information they were dealing with. So some sort of federal regulation with that. I'm not really too sure, but as far as the Twitter files go, day one they said something, and on the seventh one it was contradicted. Anyway, the second Twitter files was about shadow banning and moderation practices on Twitter. People seemed really surprised that Twitter shadow bans people, but like you ask any leftist at all online and they'll tell you, yeah, of course you get shadow banned on Twitter. Any sex worker on Twitter, yeah, of course you get shadow banned on Twitter. You get search blocked, you get all sorts of stuff. This is not surprising for anybody except for, I guess, the people who wanted it in concrete that this is happening. The funniest thing about the day two one was libs of TikTok. Basically, we got told that they're unbannable. Twitter will never do anything to permanently ban that account. There was a note that they said was on it that said only do direct action if contacted by this oversight committee, which was like the CEO and one other person who was watching over that account. So unbannable, that account, but the 300 follower leftist, all those are gone immediately. But I digress. The third, fourth, and fifth ones were all about January 6th and Trump suspensions, Twitter employees talking about it, how they influenced that choice. And then you had election disinformation bans on another one of the Twitter files. Now, all of this in mind, with what exactly is in them, again, there'll be links in the description. You can read them yourself. There is an ethics problem that I would say you have when it comes to this type of journalism. And you don't need to take my word for it. You can take Matt Taibbi, the dude whose day one was putting out these Twitter files. When it comes to being given information by the people you're reporting on.
Story that's like sort of apropos to all this is in Seymour Hersh's book, it's his memoir, Reporter. There's a story about how in the early 90s, the CIA wanted everybody to know that they had caught this. I think it was an Israeli spy. And so they called up Hersh because Hersh was the biggest, investigative reporter in the country. And they invited him in and they said, look, we're going to show you all this material, right? And they brought him into a room and they just gave him a whole packet of stuff, right? But he couldn't, like, his entire body rebelled. He's like, I had spent my whole life getting the things. I could not be handed the things. You know what I mean? Because it's just not in his nature, right? Like to be spoon-fed, right? And like, I think that's true with comics, with any kind of journalist. Like once you start getting, handed things, then you've lost. You know what I mean? They have you at that point. And you got to get out of that habit, It's like, or you can't cross that line.
You can't cross that line. You can't, but if you want to be on a talk show.
And I mean, that interview was only a year ago. So you went from that to becoming the thing you despise. Taking data from this source you're supposed to be investigating, Twitter, and just reporting it as they gave it to you. There's hopefully you can see the ethics problem with that. And I get that there's a lot of people who think Musk is this like champion of the people and free speech warrior and all that, but I mean, I just made a video about how he wants to make polls pay to win. So, obviously he doesn't care too much about your free speech. It's the speech he likes that he wants to see the most of, which, I mean, it sounds weird for me to say fair enough for something like that, but like, I get where you're coming from. It's nice to be affirmed. Sure, that's why you made the poll about should you stay the CEO. You didn't think it was going to go that way. I don't think so. Maybe that's why you wanted to say it was bots. But suddenly it's not bots when you do the poll about the omnibus spending bill. Anyway, I don't think you should really care too much about these Twitter files until there's more information that comes out, Like, as investigators, you need to bring up both sides. You need to get all of your information together before you start pushing their narratives. Because that's what's happening. You got people who don't even know what's on these things, and they're claiming like, Twitter was working directly with the Biden campaign to ban Republicans and stuff like that, which is patently unfounded. Nowhere in there does it say anything like that, but it doesn't matter because if you don't look at it yourself, if you don't do this reading on your own, you're just going to believe whoever you want. They told me the truth before, why won't they tell me it now? Well, they got it from Twitter, so it must be real. I want you to do a little bit more critical thinking on this stuff before you start just believing everything you're reading. But, I mean, I want you to do that with everything, not just Twitter. I think this is a non-issue, but someone asked me to make a video about it, so here we are. And I'll make videos about other stuff that you want me to. If you have any specific topics, just let me know. And I guess until the next time I get a recommendation, y'all try to have a good day.